For more on these wildfires, I do want to bring in Dustin Kaleiopu, who evacuated from Lahaina late afternoon yesterday. That's the exact area where Miguel was heading in now. He evacuated with his grandfather, his home and neighborhood now entirely burnt to the ground. Dustin, thank you so much for joining us during this really difficult time. I know this is probably hard to talk about and to look back on. I am glad to hear, though, that you and your family are safe. Walk us through what happened and how this wildfire spread so quickly.
It's not uncommon in West Maui for fires to happen during the summer. We usually find ourselves in a drought. Wind comes one way or another and our power lines go down. They spark these fires. And it happened 5 years ago with Hurricane Lane, and it devastated our community. A few homes were lost, but everybody pulled together, got the community back on its feet. But this is unprecedented. The footage that I've seen of my home, my hometown, there's nothing left, nothing to go back to. My family is thinking of just leaving the island completely. We have nothing but the clothes on our backs right now. Everything is gone.
I know this has got to be an incredibly emotional time. What was it like to evacuate with your grandfather and the rest of your family? What was that process like?
We live right downtown in Lahaina, where that footage was, on Front Street with those flames coming out of those buildings. My grandpa's 82 years old, and he's lived on that property since birth. That property has been in our family for over 80 years. 4 generations of people have come through that property. And we knew the smoke was getting closer. The wind was howling. The condominium across the street from our house had started to smoke, and we wanted to put it off as long as we could because we didn't want to accept that our house was going to be next.
And Dustin, if I can tell you, this is the video your family sent in to us. I don't know if you were just watching that cell phone video, but that is the area you're talking about?
My house is a little further down from there. So that's where the fire started, made its way down. We live near the ocean, and it made its way down all the way to the harbor where you saw those people jumping into the water. But my neighbor's yard caught on fire, and I had to get my grandpa into the car with his cane. We left all of his medications behind, none of the paperwork that we would need to get him any help at anywhere, nothing, just our IDs. And we ran back into the house. My brother made it back before he left to look for our pet, our kitten. And at that point, the smoke was so thick in our house, we couldn't see, we couldn't breathe. So we left, didn't turn back, took us 2.5 hours to get to safety. And between that time, there was no cell reception. So my dad got home from work looking for us and presumed that we had all died, because in the first 45 minutes after we had left our house, it was completely engulfed and there was nothing left.
And there was no cell phone reception, so he had no idea what had happened to his family?
He had no idea. So my brother waited on the highway that my dad would take home as his route home from work, and followed him and flashed his lights until he could get my dad's attention. And my dad pulled over, realizing who he was, and they had a moment on the side of the highway, my dad figuring out that we hadn't died. And that's been pretty much what's been going on here. People assuming either, one, their family is safe and we just can't reach them, or they've died. And that body count of 6 confirmed deaths is all that was confirmed by the county. People on the ground are saying that there are at least 100 deaths minimum due to the fire. There are bodies everywhere. And I hope that these families can find peace and justice with their loved ones, that they can be claimed.
Dustin, I'm trying to understand the people that ran into the ocean because they were afraid they were going to die of the wildfire. They had nowhere to go. They had to do that because the fire had cut off all other escape paths?
The fire cut off all other escape paths. Lahaina is a small town. We have at most a 4-lane highway, but everything else is maybe a 2-way street, a little side road. They're on Front Street on the water's edge where people were jumping into the water. That was the final bit of land that the fire had consumed as it made its way down the mountain. So they had no choice but to either stay in those flames or to jump into the water and swim out to safety and stay out there as long as they could.
I know that number that you said that the death count is likely to be higher. You're getting this information from people who have witnessed more people, unfortunately, who have died from the fire who weren't able to escape, and that number is much larger than 6?
That number is larger than the 6 confirmed by the County of Maui, but I know people who have been on the ground, who have been doing their own search and rescue throughout neighborhoods, that were wrecked, and they've been finding bodies on the streets, in homes. There are people that are unaccounted for. I still have family members that we have not had contact with in over 24 hours. And I hope that they're watching any one of these news broadcasts that I've done today. This is probably number 6, and I hope that they can see this and know that we're looking for them, because there are people that are unaccounted for. The county was not prepared for this emergency to happen. The amount of tourists on the island is causing overpopulation that our infrastructure can't handle, and it just led to a disaster. I'm 30, 40 miles away from Lahaina, and there's still another 1,000 acres of fire burning.
Dustin, I understand when you left, you were able to take a photo of your home, possibly of a church too. Is this correct?
So that church, that picture that you had showed earlier of that church, that one
this is the church here?
That is our family's church that we had attended. Like I said, 4 generations grew up in this town. I was baptized there. My ancestors are buried in the cemetery there. That building serves as a preschool, and it's wrecked, completely wrecked. Hundreds of years of historic sites, historic memorabilia, ancient artifacts and documents have all gone up in flames.
Dustin, you're speaking to the entire country tonight. What does Hawaii need? What's your message to the White House and to the Biden administration?
When people think of Hawaii, they think of the aloha spirit. And so often the aloha spirit is someone like myself working in a hospitality position. But I want everyone to know that aloha also means compassion, and it means love, even in the worst circumstances. And for once, Hawaii is not giving to anyone else, and we need your help, because we are done giving to others. We are the ones that are in need. It is much worse than anyone is broadcasting right now.
Dustin Kaleiopu, I am sorry for your loss tonight. I thank you for sharing. I hope you and your family are okay. I hope your relatives and your friends and everyone you know out there somehow survives this disaster. I can promise you we're going to stay on top of it. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for letting me share. Aloha.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.